Hello, it's good to know you're still there with us. Welcome to video 3, where we'll be learning about the Excel user interface, particularly the spreadsheet. We'll be learning about cells, we'll be learning about cell referencing, rows, and columns. So what's a spreadsheet? A spreadsheet in Microsoft Excel is made up of cells organized into columns and rows. A cell or cells are cross points of the rows and columns within a spreadsheet and are referenced first by the column letter and then by the row number. Let's open a blank workbook. So in Excel, a file is called a workbook, and just as we have sheets in a book, we have sheets in an Excel workbook. So an Excel workbook can contain multiple sheets called the spreadsheet. For example, I can create another sheet here. I can create another sheet 3 here by clicking this plus. So it's working on an Excel workbook is like writing a book that contains different sheets or pages. For example, I can rename this sheet as page 1, then rename this, let's say chapter 2 or chapter 3. I can rename all these sheets to show what I am, to just show what I am, what it's usually, what is, what the spreadsheet is all about. So looking at this first sheet here, we have rectangles arranged in rows and in columns. These rectangles are called cells. These rectangles here, many rectangles are called cells, and within the cells, data are arranged systematically to manipulate, to work on them. For example, if I say I have, let's say this column here, the column name is, let's say, name. I can have name here, and I have Fidon, I have Bio, I have Dayo, I have Chukudi, I have Isa. So this column basically contains names of people. Let's say these people have just finished this test, and we have chemistry. Let's say chemistry. We have biology, yeah, we have biology here. So let's say Fidon scored 80 in biology. Dayo scored 45. We have 78 in biology, 60 and 50, and let's say 40. In chemistry. Then in biology, Fidon is not so good. He scored 35 and 70 for bio. Then Dayo 62, 63, and so on, like that. All right. So this is a simple data, and this data has been arranged in the cells, systematically arranged in rows and in columns within Excel. So to manipulate this data, we can do whatever we want with this data. Now each cell has a reference. That is, if you check here, we have a name box, meaning this particular cell where Fidon is written has a reference C2. That is, we have C2. The column letter first, and then the row number. So this is the column here. We have columns that have been arranged in alphabetical order, and we have the rows that have been arranged in numerical order. So we have columns, we have and we have row. So to reference this particular cell now, you can check the name box. So this cell is referenced I9. That means is in column I and row 9. This form of referencing is called a relative reference. What do I mean by that? If I say that, let me try to reference this. Let's say this column H2 is same as column E2. Once I click enter, whatever is in column H2, whatever is in column E2 will automatically move into H2 because I have referenced it as being the same. So once I try to copy down, Excel will automatically move my referencing in relative to the first one here, such that once I try to copy, drag down, whatever is below E2 will automatically be repeated here. That is relative referencing. That is relative, let's say relative reference. Here, example of relative reference, let's say E2. So that's a relative reference. Another form of reference is called the absolute reference, which is a way of making a cell, of declaring a cell as a constant. For example, if I say this is E2 here, to make E2 an absolute reference, I need to declare it as a constant. That means I add the $sign before and after the alphabet. Once I declare this as a $sign, once I drag down, the value remains 35. Meaning I have declared H2 as an absolute reference, telling Excel never to change it. I have declared it as a constant. So once I drag down, it keeps seeing E2 because I have declared it as a constant. So an absolute reference is a constant in Excel, is a constant. So we will learn later on in this training, we will learn the use of relative and absolute reference. The third type of reference is the mixed reference, where we mix up a relative and an absolute reference in a formula. For example, we can say E2 multiplied by E2 multiplied by $E3, $3. This is that is the mixed cell reference. You can have a mixture of an absolute reference and a relative reference, and that is all about this video. We'll be learning more about the Excel user interface in the next video. Thank you and see you shortly.